Welcome to It's All Relational podcast. And this is going to be our first full-length podcast, and I'm super excited because today my guest is my ever-supportive and amazing husband, Jacob.
Hello.
Hi, Jacob.
Hello.
Okay. So today you get the privilege of the both of us. I don't know if it's a privilege or a curse, but hey, it's going to be what it is.
Fun either way.
So we're going to kind of get started on one of the most important relationships that we have in our life, and that's our relationship with ourselves. And it was the catalyst to, well, it was one of the first relationships I knew I wanted to cover on this podcast, because our relationship with ourselves is how we filter all other relationships. Right? Like our own perceptions, our own mindsets, all that sort of stuff. And it's how we filter all other relationships in our life. So it's one of those quintessential ones that we've got to kind of, tackle at the beginning. So
sounds great. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. And I'm excited to have Jacob here. One of the reasons why is because he's been with me on this whole weird journey
called life.
Well, yeah. I mean, but I've also learned a lot about myself and about the relationship I have with myself through my relationship with Jacob. But I also wanted him on here because he can give a perspective of what it's like to be in a relationship with
you
me.
And a male perspective. Hopefully that's not too construed.
Yeah, but through the difference, because you've seen the contrast, right? You've seen the contrast of what I've been when I was completely out of balance with my relationships with myself due to various other things. So
right.
You can kind of give what your perspective was or has been as I've been on this journey. 'Cause I'm starting this first podcast today, but in all reality, I started this journey 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, there's definitely been some radical changes.
Yeah.
In your life that have definitely gone in the better way, for sure.
Right. No. So let me just kind of rewind a little bit. So this podcast, we're going to talk about how important the relationship with ourself is, with our true self, or how we identify, and the power of self-talk and self-care, and how we manage that relationship with ourself, being self-aware, knowing what we're going through, and then knowing how to make the changes and knowing different triggers and stuff. Because there's a lot of stuff that goes into your relationship with yourself. That's your life experiences, trauma, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So back in September, well, I would say the end of August, I knew it was very clear that something had to change. Very clear. Because the previous the previous 3.5 years were a real struggle for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, one of the big ones is I had quite a bit of workplace trauma.
Yes.
That was huge. And
toxic workplace definitely has a big factor in.
And it reached different levels at different points for different reasons. And
right.
You know what I mean? And because of that experience, the way I was showing up at work was not my best self at all. And I thought I could just cover it up by working harder.
And just ignoring it.
or just saying, well, I'll just do so good. I'll
compartmentalize and just kind of put it in the back of your mind.
Compartmentalize. Yeah, I really suck at that.
Compartmentalization.
Yeah, I don't know. That's not how it's said, but I get what you're, yeah.
You know what I'm saying.
Yes.
I don't English well.
No, it's fine. But then we had some stuff personally happening. Like you had some workplace trauma that you were dealing with.
Yep. We had a foster child at that time. It was like at the end of having him.
Well, he came the end of February in 2020, and then like 9 days later, the world like
Changed
changed
dramatically. Yes.
dramatically, right? So we were all stuck at home for weeks, and he was like brand new to our home. So there was a lot of situations like, so the outer situational stuff that was going on over the last 2.5 years put a huge strain on it, and I didn't have solid habits. I didn't have a solid relationship with myself, right? And so that kind of contributed to a lot of different things. There was a lot of things that just caused me to go way out of balance. And it was because I hadn't taken time to solidify a solid relationship with myself.
Gotcha.
Which gets kind of hard, right? When you think of everything we have to do in a day, like if we're working full time and then we take on all these other things, like I was serving in community and all that sort of stuff. But I just got really out of balance. And there was some specific things that caused some specific traumas.
Mm-hmm.
That was hard at work. But then also at home, there was a lot of tumultuous stuff. And even good stress is stress.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's still coming from the same emotional state, just how your brain interprets if it's, positive energy or negative energy or,
yeah.
So like it could be excitement or it could be fear. It's the same, or anxiety. It's the same difference.
Right. Well, and at that time, Jacob, you were also dealing with a lot of stuff with your work and
Yes.
everything, right?
Yeah, at that time, who I thought were in my corner and part of my team decided to not be a part of my team anymore and was was installing security systems, and I was running a team out in Texas. I think we were in somewhere near Dallas. I don't remember where, but anyway, one of the previous individuals that were on the next managers up from me, regionals, I basically had saved a team after the previous year. We had to close the office I was in because our sales team, they were great people, but they just weren't selling. So they closed us down and sent us to Maryland to install security systems.
Okay. So we're going into a lot of detail. Do we need to go?
I don't know. You asked for
did.
my input, so I was like, okay, let me give you the details.
Well,
So anyways, so we were
we don't
sent to
need your
another
work
team.
details
Okay, so
necessarily,
we'll just really top level. They sent us to another team. It wasn't a great operations manager there. He basically just stopped communicating, and I was asked to please help without any additional payment for it. I initially said no. Then they came back to me a day later, just like, hey, could you just please just start managing? And I was just like, okay, well, you're going to need to pay me for it. And they said, well, you get to keep your salary. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. So I helped him out, made a really good rapport with this regional manager, and he helped me get a team the following year. It was really tough to have teams because nobody wanted to go out and work because of the whole COVID issue. So just barely last minute, got a team, got out there, started working. For whatever reason, he just stopped having my back after I was begging him to just keep sending the sales reps and the sales managers to me so I can, we can work on stuff, because I was trying so hard to call them and leave messages and try to get in contact with them and do meetings, and they just decided not to. So between the sales reps and the sales managers not communicating with me and my team, and my the regional that helped us out decided to be on their side, it got to the point where it was seemingly he was putting different operation managers to do a hostile takeover. This is what I understand. I mean, I could be wrong.
Well, either way, it was not a positive
very stressful,
experience.
Very stressful 2 weeks, and
okay,
ended up walking away from that job.
Yeah, which was really hard for you. It put strain on our relationship, all this sort of stuff. But what I kind of want to focus on is because the self-talk and everything, and because of the experiences, like going out of balance, there was a lot of like unhealthy self-talk in my mind, which kind of caused me to look at everything outside of me that I was unhappy with. And so like your work situation, I was like complaining about that and everything and like all mad because you up and made a decision without talking to me, came home and like, so like I was finding all of these external reasons not to be happy.
Right.
But in all actuality, it started like within me. And
even before all this stuff happened.
Right. Because it's like your beliefs and your thoughts will create your environment, right?
It definitely changes your outlook for sure on all your external things that are going on.
And so when you have so much tumultuous, like craziness going on around you, like, and if that's all you focus on, that's all you're going to see.
And that's all you're going to feel.
Right.
Which is, the negative energy.
So, like, I realized that, like, all of these external events that I didn't necessarily have control over put me in a really funky, negative mindset, and I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't taking care of, like, my mind and my relationship with myself.
Right.
Right? So, how that resulted is it caused me to fall into some pretty negative patterns that I thought I had worked through, but obviously not. And so, like, because when stress happens, we resort to the path of least resistance,
which is your previous programming.
Right.
Yes.
So I knew I had some negative programming. I knew I had some negative self-talk and all this stuff. And it was manifesting physically on multiple levels. I was always tired. I didn't have the mental or emotional energy to do anything. So like I'd come home and I started school.
Yep.
Like
so another stressor onto everything else.
Yeah, because for some reason. So here's the other thing I was thinking. Like emotions can be addictive, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So like stress can be addictive, or like people get addicted to that adrenaline rush, and that's why they go and do like all this adventure seeking type things,
or they self-sabotage, which which could be thrill seeking as well. But
it's a subconscious kind of thing or pattern, I think, a lot of times. But I really feel like because of my past and everything, it's like I don't feel comfortable unless I'm in like high stress situations. So I think
there has to be conflict or chaos
or stress,
or just stress in general.
Okay. Sorry, my head.
I'm trying not to put words in your mouth, but I'm also trying to kind of understand myself. So I'm like,
no, it's good. So. This is good. So like cortisol, right? That it's a hormone, and it's like I think my body doesn't, up to a certain point, didn't know how to function without it. And so I knew something had to change, right? There was something, and it's like intellectually, I knew, if I just eat better and if I got more sleep and
if you exercise,
do
your
your
affirmations, like if you
then I know I'll make changes. But for some reason, there was no connection on like, this is what I know I need to do, and this is me actually doing it. There was no connection. It was just constantly.
You're trying to hit the mark, but for whatever reason you couldn't.
Right. And like the stress or the cortisol or something happened. I tried therapy, like talk therapy. Like I tried multiple avenues. Okay. And I knew something was different. I knew something had to change. I was the biggest I had ever been, like as far as weight. And that's still something I'm working on. That's part of this whole podcast, is like finding balance mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, for
all
sure.
All four of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to do a disclaimer on this. I am not a medical professional. I'm not a therapist or anything. I'm just talking about my own journey and the tips and tools that I have figured out to use to help me solidify and build that relationship with myself, right? So I want to make sure that disclaimer's out there, because I don't know. Anyway.
So talk to your doctor, talk to your therapist. These are just our experiences, and we just want to share them.
Right.
Gotcha.
So I had become really unhealthy. Our relationship was extremely strained. I mean, we're going to be super vulnerable and honest.
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
So because my relationship with myself wasn't healthy, it was impacting the health of all of my relationships.
Yeah.
All of them. Work, coworkers, especially you, my relationship with my mom. And
It honestly probably was one of the most difficult times of our life with our relationship because of where we were at as far as like our, you know, our mental, emotional, physical, spiritual states, as well as I'm not sure where I was going with that. But I lost my train of thought. I didn't take my alpha brain today.
Squirrel.
But I'm just saying, like, it was definitely one of the most, like, up to like what, 6 months to a year ago. It's like been one of probably the most difficult times of our relationship and being together.
Well, and it was getting harder and harder to like manage my emotions because I wasn't sleeping. And I mean, I don't want to say it, but I'm probably premenopausal. Anyway.
Well, you're also consuming a lot of, like TikTok and like social media.
So
and
I
stuff
would
like
numb
that.
out. I would come
You would numb
home
out.
and I would numb out because I was so tired and exhausted. I would do the bare minimum, like with school, and then I would numb out because I was just so exhausted all the time. But the thing is that created more exhaustion. Right. So it created more exhaustion. I wouldn't sleep. My body was way out of whack. Hormones were out of whack. So, and when we're tired, it's harder to actually control our emotions. Right. So that was coming into play with a lot of things. And so something had to change.
Right.
And so in September, I found a practitioner who does NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay. And what does that entail? Like just top level?
So basically our minds have, like, we believe things, we have automated things that happen with our subconscious brain, right? Which is like the massive computer, and like our conscious mind is like our desktop. We can see what's there,
right?
Whatever, but the subconscious mind that runs everything has different thoughts, beliefs, all this sort of stuff. And mine just needed a severe tune up and clean up, and like some new programming,
right.
Basically. Because the programming I had was not serving me, right? Because it was running off of old trauma patterns that had been kicked up again through various events. It was running off of all of these other things. And even though I had gone through therapy, like I'd gone to do some talk therapy and stuff, it didn't make sense. I didn't see a change. And I also didn't want to spend a ton of money when I didn't feel like I was getting a good fit.
Gotcha.
Kind of thing, right? So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. That's what it's called. So it's you reprogram neural pathways in your brain through a type of different exercises and stuff. Are
they all verbal exercises, or is it like written
No.
exercises?
So you
is it
put
like
yourself
a series
into
of images, or
you put yourself into a learning state, and then you
Okay.
walk through different things. So it's kind of like you tap into that hypnotic theta. I don't know. I could be talking out my butt. But good news is I'm going to have Kendra, my NLP practitioner, on as a guest.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
And she could probably explain it a little bit better. But I knew I needed to do something, and I knew I needed to do something quickly. And JL, my friend, had actually gone through the process to become an NLP practitioner. And he had helped me a little bit before, and I saw some really good results when I did it with him before. But then other stuff happened, and you know what I mean? And
yeah,
then
it just
I got
kind of went
triggered.
to the wayside. And
Right, and we didn't really fulfill the whole process. But he's like, here, I'm going to introduce you to Kendra. She's really good. She's been through this.
He introduced you to
Yeah,
Kendra.
so he introduced me to Kendra.
Oh, very cool.
And we kind of...
Kendra's awesome.
I know.
I like Kendra.
She's a rock star. I mean, there's a whole... Like, we'll go into that when I have her on as a guest, because it's been my life has changed dramatically.
It really has, and I've seen the changes. And
Right.
We've never honestly been better. I feel like we're back to the point where we're almost like when we first like met.
Right.
It
Well,
seems
I
like
was
it's
in
that special like place right now. It's actually really interesting.
well, because what's interesting is when we met, I had really taken like a year to really try and form a relationship with myself.
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
That's my fidget cube. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
stop
I didn't
fidgeting.
mean to,
No, it's
didn't
okay.
mean to drop it.
It scared me. But like when we met, I had really been like on a self discovery type thing.
Trying to figure yourself out.
Right. Well, I had picked up and moved from Utah to Arizona, and then to do business with JL, and then he picked up and moved, and I was stuck in Arizona by myself.
In Arizona.
And yeah, so it was a really interesting situation when we met. I was actually honed in and really working on developing that relationship with my adult self, right? Like
Right.
figuring out who I was. I had been working through the trauma of my first marriage, or my practice husband kind of thing that I like to call him.
Like that's always funny when you call it your
Practice marriage.
Practice marriage.
Yeah, it was. It was because I learned a lot.
Right.
I learned a lot about myself. And so I was on a self-discovery when I had met you. And then things just kind of, I don't know, things happened. And it all kind of came to a point. So I met Kendra, started working with her. In fact, my first appointment with her was on my birthday, September 3rd.
Oh, okay.
And
that was this
just
past
this
year, right?
Past year.
Okay.
But what happened is like, we kind of went through the major emotions and cleared, like, there's a whole thing to it. I don't want to give too much away. It's just too hard to explain.
Yeah.
But I had some serious breakthroughs. And I had realized, I mean, coming up to this point, I wasn't in a environment where I was being my best self or that brought out the best in me. Like with work or even my home. And I was struggling to climb out of the shiz, if that makes sense, on my own.
What you mentioned that you had some of the best self of things come out. What were some of those things that you felt like you were the best self about?
Well, like for instance, like
I think I worded that wrong and I apologize, but
yeah, no, I get what you're saying. So like those characteristics that serve me, like those personality characteristics that serve me, and like
changing like language outlook when you specify things.
Yeah.
Talk about more successes rather than my day sucked.
Right. So like my yeah, I was.
And that's something that's working out really well with us in our little meetings that we do each week.
Yeah, I was in the opposite in my current environment, and it was getting really hard for me to not be in that environment. Right? Like it just did not elicit, it just was not a healthy environment for me to be in anymore. And it wasn't necessarily aligned with who I wanted to be or what I wanted to do in this life. But I was also fearful to leave that environment because I didn't think I could. I wasn't seeing opportunities or possibilities. I was just seeing all the negative.
Gotcha.
So I was operating out of a place of fear and everything, which was not healthy. And it was impacting our relationship too, because I was always operating out of
definitely
fear, like finances and all this stuff. I'm maybe a little type A sometimes.
Type A? What does that mean?
It's in textbooks. People know. I don't know.
Oh, okay. You'd have to explain that to me because I don't know what you mean by type A. But
it means like get things done. Like,
oh, okay.
Usually very motivated. Usually like
task oriented.
Get it done. Get it. Yeah.
Making a list and getting it done.
Has a hard time letting go and relaxing. Right.
So there's always something to do.
So like, yeah, the environment was definitely manifesting that type A personality traits that don't necessarily serve me, and to a point where it was getting toxic. Obviously, because I was getting unhealthy. mentally, emotionally, physically. You
Right.
know, I wasn't in my best place. And no matter how much I tried, I couldn't necessarily make that change in that environment
Without
either.
the NLP with Kendra.
Well,
which-
the NLP actually helped me to recognize that.
Okay.
And so being in that environment, it wasn't being very symbiotic, right? Like it was the NLP was a catalyst for some major change.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what needed to happen,
Right.
right? So it's like I wasn't aligning with where I was at anymore.
Gotcha.
It was time to move. And that's okay because in October that change happened, right? So I was no longer in that work environment. And that was hard. It was really, really hard
Yeah.
to make that adjustment. But let's talk about like, because I started in September.
Mm-hmm.
And when would you say our relationship started getting better?
Somewhere between October and November, I started to see the changes, and I was just like, oh wow, it seems like my wife is coming back.
Well, yeah, but I think
Somewhere around there, I'd
Yeah.
probably say maybe November,
like end of October.
end of October, early November, somewhere around there.
Yeah, there
started
was
going,
there was some
something's different about
major
Rianne.
changes. So the NLP work I was doing with Kendra was like really changing a lot of things, and I was releasing a lot of things mentally.
Mm-hmm.
But then I noticed the changes I started making that started happening in my body, and I one of the main reasons why this is important because our relationship with food and vitamins and nourishment is so important. Especially, I don't think people understand how closely those are tied to even our mental health. Did you start laughing because the camera glitched?
Yeah,
It was
I did. It's
me.
It's you.
It's me.
It's you.
Okay, you guys, the weirdest thing. Every time I sit on a camera, like it starts glitching, and we've like replaced the cameras, we've replaced
Placed
the
the
cord.
cable. We've
But it
changed
only
the output,
glitches on me.
inputs. We've
So I don't know if it's my weird woo-woo energy or whatever.
whatever
but
it is that you have on or whatever you're doing, it's glitching out the camera. I don't know what it is.
That's weird. Okay.
Technologically wise, it should work like other 3 cameras, no issues.
So it's really funny, like total side note, squirrel note. Usually when I'm on the phone with like JL or like somebody, usually it happens with JL because I've had the conversations. But when we start talking like deep conversational stuff and like talking about the future or like doing big, like talking like dream building type stuff of like the things we want to accomplish, like legit, our phones will start dropping the calls. They'll start cutting out like every single time. So it's like,
That's wild.
I know. So like when I start talking about stuff and like getting in that frame of mind of like everything I want to do and everything, it's interesting that that happens.
That's fascinating.
Okay. So rewind back from the squirrel moment. Technology is awesome.
It's great when it works.
Right? So the reason why I'm sharing all this information, and it's not super detailed, I mean, there's a lot to it, but like there was a real struggle there. I mean, mental health, there was a struggle. There was times when I didn't want to get out of bed. There were times like I got to a very dark place,
Yeah.
right, Jacob? I mean, it was dark. It was not healthy on any level.
Right.
So I'm super grateful that like everything happens for a reason. I'm a firm believer of that. And like this meeting Kendra and everything was important, but she introduced me. So doTERRA oils, essential oils. My mom does that quite a bit. Like she loves doTERRA oils. In fact, back in the day, some of my friends would say, oh, Rianne's got an oil for that. Because I used to do them a lot way back after my first marriage.
Way back in the day.
Way back in the day. It was after like I got divorced. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this oil thing. But I still had a lot to learn. But
We still do. We are students of humanity.
yes, yes. But Kendra introduced me to this MetaPower that doTERRA has, which is that collagen supplement. And I think implementing that in addition to really trying to establish some better habits, I have been able to turn the corner on so many things. And the reason why I say that is because, like, once you get to a certain point, like in weight or mental health or like mental talk or self-talk, it's sometimes really hard to pull yourself out of it, especially because when you're depressed and all that stuff, you eat all the crappy food that you're not supposed to eat, like all the junk food and the crap food. I mean, one thing that we did a ton of was eat out, and we did DoorDash a lot, which was stupid.
Yeah, we spent a lot of money on DoorDash during
Okay,
that time.
let's not air that laundry out there. But
It's
but
fine.
it's true.
It's fine. We need to be open and honest,
Yeah.
and I think that's going to be really important for the viewers to understand.
Well, that's part of the unhealthy habits that snuck in because I wasn't in the healthiest place. So, but taking this MetaPower really, really helped in a lot of ways. The first thing it helped me do is it helped me actually get sound, restful sleep.
That was honestly the first site, I guess, perk, or however you say it. That was probably the first thing I noticed, was that literally after the first 3 or 4 days, like, I just noticed that I was getting much more restful sleep.
Yeah, I didn't get punched in the head as much. No, you guys, seriously. Jacob has a tendency when he sleeps to thrash a little bit.
I do, and so sometimes she gets a head or an arm or a elbow in the.
So much so that I put a pillow in between us just so I have some protection.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. No, but Jacob does thrash a lot. But I do know, like, Jacob, since you started taking it, which you haven't even been taking it, it's maybe been a full month now.
It's maybe about, I'm coming up, I'm pretty sure, pretty
Right.
close to 30 days.
Yeah. But the thing
Stuff's good.
It is.
I was very surprised.
Well, and the reason why it's so good is because it has collagen, like 9 different types of collagen, and NMN. Right. So, like, I will put a whole information video up so you guys can kind of see what's going on. But I will just tell you, my brain, like, how do I say it? Like, I didn't feel as mentally exhausted anymore. And I was able to get more restful, peaceful sleep. Yeah. So those are the things I noticed first. Then I noticed that my joints weren't hurting and that I had more energy. So I
noticed that
felt
too.
motivated to actually exercise, and I feel motivated to actually do things. Like, it was really helping with my brain. Like, I had a noticeable difference. Like, the brain fog was not there as much.
Ah, yes.
Do you see what I'm saying? Because, like, what was it? Like, I mean, the brain fog was hard. Then it's like the motivation to actually do anything productive was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, you relieve that brain fog, you're getting more restful sleep. And it's like, oh yeah, I can do this. Or yeah, I feel creative again. I feel like actually picking up my house and like maybe clearing off the table of the junk, or like finally taking that load of stuff to the DI so I don't have a bunch of junk lying around. Like, I felt motivated to take care of my physical environment.
Right.
In a lot of ways.
Which is very helpful for,
right.
For, your mind, for sure.
Right. And so I'm not saying like this is a cure-all, but I am saying like this was a big catalyst for me in starting some new healthier habits.
Right.
Right. So the joint pain and muscle pain was definitely less. And I noticed recovery. Because like in November, like after I made that change with my job, I was doing some more physical work with you, Jacob, which I noticed that like from going to a job where I'm primarily sedentary all day,
right,
to where I was moving around delivering packages and stuff for a moment.
Yeah.
It was like I didn't come back super sore or achy. Right.
I've noticed that too. Like I would feel like my body would feel tired, but I wouldn't feel like the pain in my joints or like sore in the normal places. Like, yeah.
Right. So when your body is feeling a lot better, it's a lot easier to kind of just not go into that funk.
Right.
Right. But the meta power was a big, huge thing in helping me do that. I realized. And so like I've taken so much so that I was like, Jacob, just try it. Like,
Yeah.
what's going to hurt? You're like, I don't need oils.
I don't want to do it.
I don't need oils.
I don't need that.
Yeah, but then you started doing it and you're like, oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, this stuff's pretty good. It's usually what happens.
So
when we try new supplements, that's usually what happens. It's like, I don't really want to do it. And then I do it and I go, oh, hey, this stuff's pretty good.
So that's the thing. So with the changes I made as far as trying to develop relationship, I started, I did NLP to really address and look at some of the things that were not serving me mentally and emotionally. Right.
And that was a lot better than a traditional like therapist.
It worked much better for me.
And much faster too. I noticed
It
was the changes were almost like
instantaneous, right? I mean,
it felt instantaneously. I mean, it definitely took you a few times like during a week, but it seemed like after the first week, it was like, whoa, there was definitely some different things going on.
Like you could see, well, yeah, because we did a lot of clearing. Like Kendra,
yeah.
And I'm not even gonna lie, I really want to look into what it's gonna take to become an NLP practitioner. Not maybe because I don't necessarily like. It's not like I want to make money off of it, but I want to like really develop that skill. So I can continue to progress
for yourself,
for myself. Yeah.
That's fair.
But I mean, honestly, if there are some people that I could help with it, like Kendra helped me and Jaya helped me, like I would 100% do it because it's made a huge difference. But so then like, so that was the mind piece that I implemented. The physical piece was like, I knew I was out of shape. I knew that like jumping in and forcing myself to do like an hour workout every day and like making huge dramatic changes to my diet and all that stuff, it wouldn't work for me because I've tried it. And then I'd get stressed out, stop and not see results and stuff. So it would continue to be a yo-yo. So I felt more impressed to help or implement this supplement. And it's helped with a lot of things. Like even my digestion is better. Like I'm not getting heartburn. I'm not getting nauseated in the mornings anymore. Like it's helped with my blood sugars and all that stuff, hormonal, everything. So like I started implementing that with physical because that was the easiest thing I could do.
Right.
And it really helped as I've tried to do other physical things.
Well, we also are going, I mean, it's been kind of hit or miss just because of the weather, but we've been going on more walks lately, which is really good.
Right.
I mean, just getting out and just walking is, it's better than nothing. So
that's true.
It's great for the brain as well.
That's very true. One very important thing that I've done to help with this personal relationship is reconnect with my spiritual side. So personal prayer has been like a major, major thing for me.
I also noticed that when we started focusing more on the successes that we've done throughout the week, we were doing, we did a prayer of thanks when we had like a really big push on my YouTube channel.
And when I got to start a new job.
Yeah, the first thing we did was just like, okay, we need to pray and just say thanks.
The gratitude.
Yeah.
But like but it started with that personal prayer and reconnecting with that spiritual side.
That's awesome.
So I've been doing that a lot. So personal prayer, big deal, right? In fact, I think that's what was the catalyst is because I actually started praying and kind of reestablishing that
connection spiritual, with something greater than yourself.
Well, and I'm going to say with God.
Because absolutely.
That's what I believe in. So reconnecting that with God because it's, I think, through Him that we can see all those possibilities, right? Even our best selves. And I was just praying. I'm like, Heavenly Father, I need to know my best self exists. I need an environment where I can be my best self. Please help me find people, opportunities, all that stuff. And then literally I prayed about that in August, then got introduced to Kendra. And so it was like a whole snowball effect, but it was started with that prayer.
Yeah.
Right. So that's something that that spiritual side is super, super important for me in this whole reestablishing the relationship with myself. And part of that is practicing Ho'oponopono.
What is that?
I know, right? So
say that one more time.
Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono.
Right. There's like tons of YouTube videos out there and stuff.
Okay.
But what that means is what's best for you and what's best for me. So it's like a prayer of forgiveness and reconciliation. So like I had like this 30-minute guided prayer where it kind of just walks you through. But basically what it means is...
Oh, it's Hawaiian.
Yeah, it's Hawaiian. But it's... you think of a person, or which can be yourself or a person you're struggling with, and it's saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, and thank you. So it's basically saying, I apologize for anything I've done wrong to you, please forgive me, and I love you, and thank you.
So it looks like I got it up here on Wikipedia. So Ho'oponopono is a traditional Hawaiian practice of reconciliation and forgiveness.
Yep.
The Hawaiian word translates into English simply as correction, with the synonyms of manage or supervise. Similar forgiveness practices are performed on islands throughout the South Pacific, including Hawaii, Samoa, Tahiti, and New Zealand.
Yeah. It's actually really cool and really powerful. So I started doing this every morning.
So you do a personal prayer every morning now?
I do a personal prayer, but then I also do this practice where I think of the people who I may be struggling with or frustrated with.
Okay.
Or feel hurt by, or feel, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like...
And you just forgive them and let it go?
People that I've been traumatized by, and I may not feel it necessarily right then, but it's like... Like I did it with my ex-husband.
Okay.
Like I had a lot of anger and frustration about the situation with my dad. So I did it with my dad.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I did a similar thing when I was going through therapy for my mother's second husband, who was very verbally abusive.
Uh-huh.
I had to forgive him because otherwise I was going to continue to have nightmares and stuff about him.
Oh,
so,
I remember you having nightmares.
And I was still having those even through the first couple of years of our marriage, for
right.
sure, at least,
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, I just had to be like, you know what? I forgive you. I'm sorry that it turned out the way it did. And
well, and what I like about this is it says, please forgive me.
Right.
Like where you actually ask for forgiveness from them.
Right.
Because usually people, yeah, we can talk about that on a whole nother topic, but like having that practice of expressing gratitude, asking for forgiveness and reconciliation with people that you feel have wronged you or that you have wronged or whatever, even if you're not doing it to their face, but trying to create that reconciliation within yourself is really important. And that's one thing that I've noticed, that like when those negative gremlins, those mind gremlins come in.
What do they call them? The grungies?
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody...
Just basically negative energy,
those
negative thoughts,
that are freaking lies, that tell you you're anything but, that take you down a dark path, that... I hate them. They're like little gremlins. And JL and I used to call them chihuahuas. And the reason why we call it, not because we don't love chihuahuas, I mean Starbuck is a chihuahua.
They're just yippy, annoying dogs.
But like, yeah, they're just nippy and they'll just bite at your ankles, and it's really hard to focus on anything else when you got little things trying to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though they're not that big and powerful, they can distract you like crazy.
Oh, very
keep
easily.
You from focusing on, you know what I mean, the bigger picture. Oops.
I like the idea of visualizing him as chihuahuas. That's funny,
right? So I mean, not that I do love chihuahuas. I mean, Starbuck is a chihuahua.
Yeah, he's
so that's why I started calling him gremlins, because
right there. He's so cute. He's adorable.
Yes, but that's why I started calling him gremlins.
I like it.
But what's interesting is over the last couple of months, like it has not been easy. I still get bouts where I get really depressed and I have a really hard day and everything, but because I haven't even really been focusing on my relationship with you, Jacob,
Mm-hmm.
but I've been focusing on my relationship with myself and trying to.
And it honestly directly affects our relationship with each other.
It does. It affects how we interact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
It affects the energy that we bring to the relationship. Like it.
Mm-hmm. And I've been doing that for myself as well. I don't know if you've noticed, but
yeah,
it's definitely been much different. Like over the past, few months, we've been working on stuff. So
well, and I've noticed that like instead of just talking about stuff, we're actually taking action.
That's true. That's true too. But also, especially the things where, like for instance, like we had a discussion the other day where you brought up like continued education or going back to school or or getting a certificate or something like that.
Yeah, one of those no cost certificates that like would actually it's a really good idea. I'm just saying
it is a really good idea.
It cost us
it doesn't
anything
hurt
than
anybody.
Time.
It doesn't hurt anybody. But one of the things that I've noticed is that if I'm not 100% in, like if I don't have both feet in the pool and I'm like diving in, I find a way to get out of it. And so when I think of stuff like that, oh, well, maybe I should just go get a certificate, or, oh, maybe I should, go to a trade school or something like that. Then for me, I've noticed when it's brought up, it gives me more self-doubt. It tells me, oh, I have an escape route now. I need to go do that. Or
so you just have a limiting belief
about
yourself.
I did. I mean, that was something that we learned about myself.
Again.
I know.
Gosh, dang it.
It's you.
It's me. Okay, I don't know what's happening. But
I don't know what to tell you.
But here's the thing. The one thing I've learned in NLP is it helps you remove limiting beliefs and thoughts about yourself. So it's like these thoughts that keep you from moving forward or doing things. The NLP literally creates a whole different pathway for you to take. And it's like, it's not even, it's like, oh yeah, I can totally do that. That's totally fine. It's like, cause I'm not going to lie, even doing this podcast, when you were telling me today, it's like, okay, we gotta do your podcast.
You said we're gonna do it.
And
we're
I'm
gonna
like,
do it.
but I don't want to. I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to put myself out there. I don't want to do this. Like, I'm going crazy.
It's difficult and it's
hard.
It's scary. It's exciting and it's scary and it's.
But here's the thing. So I use some of the NLP tools that I've learned, and I'm like, no, it's not scary. There's something that I can put out there. Like, the whole reason why I'm doing this is like maybe people can relate and can understand, and hopefully maybe something I say today will be helpful for them.
Right.
Or, like whatever. I don't even care. I just know that I need to put more positivity out there. And this podcast is how I'm hoping to do that.
Right.
Right.
And I think that's something that, like I was saying, like before I would just shut down and I would get upset and you wouldn't know why.
Yeah.
But you would bring up things, but I'm communicating now. I'm just like, because like I literally said, okay, when you say stuff like this is where my mind goes, and I take you down the path of how my brain works and like where it connects these different things and where it ends up. And
do you find that I'm more receptive to knowing that and making adjustments once I know it?
Yeah.
So, and you feel safer in expressing that now because I'm in a better state.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. Because one thing that's really interesting, especially with relationships, especially in marriage, is that if you don't feel safe to express yourself to the other person, you're probably not going to express yourself to the other person. You're just going to keep it to yourself because you don't want it to either be ammunition for another argument at another time, or you're going to feel like what you said was stupid and dumb. And it's just like, why would I even share it with you anyways?
Right.
And so, but now that we're kind of going through these different things and doing things differently and being more positive, we can go, okay, well, when you say this is where my mind goes. And I'm doing that more often now. And it's helping us understand each other and where we go when we start bringing these things up.
So you want to know my thought on this? Because
absolutely.
There's conflict or pushback. There's like conflict in everything, right? And
Right.
conflict is where we can learn and grow and like expand our perspectives and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But because I'm handling the conflict within myself so much better
Mm-hmm.
because of these things I'm doing, and I'm handling that inner conflict better, the way I deal with conflict outwardly is different.
Okay.
And so I think that's been a huge shift in our relationship.
And I'm not going after conflict as much within myself. I'm actually sharing it and being open with
Right.
it so that it's more easily managed as well when you start
So
talking about it.
you're not approaching conflict with as much fear as you used to.
Right. And
Right.
keeping it internal. I'm actually bringing it out to the external to
And so it's
help
funny
to get through it.
because you avoided conflict, and
Oh,
your
yeah.
personality is one that avoids conflict. My
Yes.
personality is one that's like, let's tackle it and get
And
it
let's do it
resolved and get it done. And like,
Me, I'm like, I might need a day or two, maybe 72 hours,
right.
maybe.
Which we have total, complete opposite ways of doing that. But I think,
Which is interesting.
right? It totally is. But I think because I'm figuring out how to be more proactive and handling my conflict within myself, I'm not attracting or putting myself in an environment or creating an environment where conflict is so intense.
Right.
And so, right? That's a real term. So, and it's taken a minute to get there like that because I was out of balance. I wasn't handling conflict within myself. I was too tired, too exhausted, giving too much in other areas and not enough to addressing what was going on with me.
Right.
And so I've made that change.
And if you're out of balance, then everything else is going to be out of balance.
Right. So that's why, but like, it's important, like, everything's a balance, but we've got to have relationships. I mean, that's what this whole life is about, is our relationships with various different things, right? And when one's out of balance, that's when we run into issues. But it takes work. You got to work through your crap.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
And if you're not working through it, then
and just because
how are you going to work through other stuff?
Right. And one thing that I'm finding so this is one thing that's kind of hard for me right now is because like my environment has changed over the last 3 months in dramatic ways. And the last 3 months has been a very transitional period.
Okay.
Right? And so how do I maintain consistency with these things I'm trying to do with building my relationship with myself when everything else around me is kind of transitory or in a transition? And it hasn't been easy. And it's kind of like I've tried to establish consistency. And it's not quite there yet, 100%. But because that's something I'm always striving towards, I feel like I've handled the last 3 months so much better than I would have in the past.
Oh, completely agree. It's a world of difference over the last 3 months for sure.
Right. Well, and just in how I've handled transition since we've been married, right?
Yeah.
It hasn't been smooth. I mean, we've had a lot of...
Well, that's the thing of being human. We're always
Right.
making mistakes and, coming up short.
But we've had a lot of areas in our life where we've transitioned to various things.
Right.
And now
We're working on another transition.
we're in a different transition, but it's a positive. Like every transition has been positive in some way.
Yeah.
But-
it's definitely moving in the direction that we want it to go for sure.
But I'm handling this transition so much better, having gone through like NLP, trying to develop more consistent things, right?
Working on yourself and
Yeah.
being in a good headspace
And it's hard because it's like if you miss something one day, you might, like if I miss a specific like healthy habit or whatever I'm trying to do, like
it's easy to get down on yourself.
My tendency is to get down on myself, but
Yeah.
at the same time, like I've learned that doesn't serve me. So like I've come up with this formula that I talked to. Well, I don't want to say I've come up with this formula because it's not all mine at all. I mean, I've talked through it. So like my good friend JL and Nate, like they had this whole thing that they were coming up with called the hero habits.
Uh-huh.
So this is the one thing that's really started to help me kind of create that structure for myself through this transitionary period, because the schedules have changed. There's been a lot of different things. Like I started one job and
Right.
realized, oh, that's not for me. And then I started a different. So like even through this, these hero habits or this philosophy has kind of helped provide some consistency for me.
Okay.
So I kind of want to share that because it's helping me continue to work on solidifying my relationship with myself, but then also giving me the disciplines and stuff to work on all the relationships in my life.
Gotcha.
Right? So the hero habits breaks down of H is for health, E is for education, R is for relationships, and O is for oneness or openness. So having a habit or doing one of the habits in each of these areas every day helps me stay focused, helps me stay just helps me stay on track and to remind myself what's going on.
Okay.
So like some of the habits that I have for health: drinking enough water, getting a certain amount of steps a day, or working out at least like doing like a HIIT workout at least 30 minutes a day.
What's a HIIT workout?
High intensity
training.
training.
High intensity training.
Yeah.
Got it.
So like something, I'm doing something every day, and like there's like a few things I would like to do all three, but I consider myself successful if I do at least one of these.
Okay.
Right? And if I'm like focusing on drinking water and hitting my macros, that's one. You know what I mean? And if I have a day where I'm hitting all three, awesome. I'm kicking A.
What happens on days if you miss all of them?
Then I practice Ho'oponopono on myself and realize that I'm going to start fresh the next day.
I like that.
But that takes some, because that's when those gremlins come in. They will come in. It's tough. So I have like a set list of physical things that I do. Like, I even track it on my phone. Like I make sure I take my MetaPower every day. And I didn't take any yesterday because yesterday was one of those days we were just talking about. Like today's a new day, right?
Yep, today's a new day.
But I didn't take it, and I realized I didn't get as restful sleep last night. I woke up with a bit of a headache.
Yeah, I noticed you've had a lot less of those.
So my migraines have not been as persistent at all.
Except for when you're on your cycle, it seems that that always comes back. But outside of that, it seems like you don't.
Well, and I'm not waking up nauseated to where I feel like I have to throw up every day. Or I feel like I can actually wake up and not feel like I'm going to be sick every morning. Where I was waking up sick every morning in my previous environment. And that's not healthy.
No, it's not.
But like a lot of that has changed. So I have those health
habits.
Health habits that I'm trying to establish, right? And my goal is to hit all three every day, but I need to hit at least one.
Okay.
Right? The education goal is where I'm doing something to better myself, like either with my current business or where I'm listening to like good podcasts or reading books, like self-improvement books, business books, whatever, where I'm doing some type of education to feed my mind.
Okay.
But being very specific, not watching a bunch of bull crap that makes me feel crappy. So, right? It's like I watch a podcast that inspires me or helps me to think with an open mindset and a growth mindset versus like a polarizing podcast or a podcast that talks about all the crap that's going on in the world and stuff. Because that's the other thing that I realized was really keeping me in the dredges is I was listening to stuff or consuming things that just made me feel like crap mentally.
Gotcha.
And like, you have to be careful because the freaking social media algorithms and crap will freaking
We'll
feed you crap
Yeah.
to make you feel like shiz.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So-
and it's designed to keep, like, if you spend a certain amount of time on one, like on cat videos versus dog videos, they'll start giving you more cat videos.
I'm not gonna lie, there was a minute on TikTok where all I was getting was like farm animals and
The
like,
algorithm knew what you
Yes.
liked.
like freaking baby goats, emus in wigs, and
Oh goodness.
like dog videos, like the funny videos with animals and stuff where I laugh. Yeah, so there was a minute. And like that can
But
be
some of that can be
helpful.
very wholesome and very
Yeah, it can be, but then when it starts getting sprinkled in with all the other crap, it's not healthy,
Yeah.
right? And so I have to be careful because if I'm consuming all the baby goats and all that stuff and I'm still numbing out on that, then I'm not being really cognizant or aware of all the other crap that seems to trickle in.
Gotcha.
And so it's really important. So I try and make sure that like I'm listening to good music. Anything that helps inspire me. One that I've been listening to a lot, which has been super, super awesome, is Joe Dispenza.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of things on YouTube with Joe Dispenza and how he talks about the power of the mind and everything, which has been extremely helpful for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another podcast called God Mode.
I listened to that the other day. I liked it a lot.
Did you? Okay, so God Mode. So this, the guy who does God Mode, like you can find it on Spotify. His name is William. But he's the one who
William
trained
something?
William Lamb, I think. He's the NLP practitioner that trained Kendra and JL.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. And he's doing so well in his business, dude. He just charged somebody $1 million for one-on-one coaching.
Oh, wow.
That's how powerful NLP is.
That's pretty crazy.
I know, it's nuts. But God Mode that's a podcast that I really enjoy listening to. That helps me kind of reset
We need to figure out how to get on Apple
on.
for podcasting.
Oh yeah. Anyway,
But anyway.
so the education piece is I'm doing something to expand my perception and expand my mind and go in the growth mindset. So that's a big deal. So I have health goals, education goals, then the relationship. R in Hero stands for relationships. So obviously I'm working on the relationship with myself, but the R in relationships in Hero means working and solidifying key relationships that are important to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is where it's like I do something every day to connect to the people that are important to me. And it doesn't have to be like a super huge, grandiose thing. It can be as simple as serving you, right? Like cooking dinner or doing something to serve you or spend quality time with you, going on a date with you.
Mm-hmm.
It could be making a phone call to my mom or the in-laws or sending a quick message to one of my friends on text. So something where I am doing something to solidify the relationships that are super important to me and that I value every day. And then the O for in the Hero stands for openness or oneness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's oneness with my higher self or with God, or you know what I mean, where I'm working on that spiritual piece.
Gotcha.
So that's like a meditative thing, or I'm practicing Ho'oponopono, the prayer. So I've got several things that kind of fall into that. And at least if I'm doing something in each of those aspects every day, I'm keeping myself in alignment with who I'm working towards
Okay.
as a person and maintaining that personal relationship with myself, which is really cool. And what I love is I'm actually creating a journal for this.
For It's All Relational, or
Yeah, for it's
like a guided journal?
yeah, it's like a guided journal where you can set up your hero habits You can be the hero of your own life,
Oh.
right? You're your own hero. But
Adventures assemble.
Yeah. Okay, now I didn't want to get... But yeah, like... Nobody can make these changes within you. Like, nobody can help you with your relationship with yourself but you.
Right.
Right? The relationship, like your mental health, your emotional health, all that sort of stuff stems from the relationship you have with yourself. And nobody can help you with that except for you. And so that's what, like, I'm wanting to create this journal as I'm implementing it in my own life, right? And utilizing these tools. I want to kind of create this journal so that if somebody else wants to use these tools, they can have access to it. And it's really exciting. I really like it. So, I mean, you're the only person that can change your relationship with yourself, but that doesn't mean you have to do it alone.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm. And getting tools and stuff, sometimes it's hard for you to recognize tools that you need. And so sometimes you need somebody to be like, hey, here's some tools you can use.
Here's what I use. This is how it's helped me. Mm-hmm. Blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of what this whole podcast is about, is like kind of talking about different ways that we can, better be in relation with everything around us, including ourselves. And so I have a lot of cool ideas. I'm super excited about this podcast. I'm excited by the fact that I've been able to implement this. Now, I am not perfect. I'm not perfect at all.
No one is.
Right? But like this week was kind of interesting because there was a lot of transition this week again.
Yeah.
Right? Like I stopped working for that one job, started working with Lock Cop, and the possibilities there are super exciting. But like since I've been on this journey over the last 3 months in taking MetaPower along and implementing some of these daily habits of like eating healthier, drinking more water, taking care of myself, sleeping better, and then making sure I do the meditation and feeding myself good stuff, I've lost 25 pounds.
Nice, babe.
Yeah. So
good job.
I know that might have, it fluctuates a little bit, but this week it might have fluctuated because I wasn't super solid with my physical activity like I should have been.
Yeah, I've been lacking too, so I need to get back on that. But
like, so physically I'm seeing a change, right? And this MetaPower is awesome because it also helps with the sugar cravings. So that helps because it's helping me choose better food.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not eating the sugary crap that actually does cause the brain fog and do all that sort of stuff.
And the joint pain and inflammation.
Yeah, and inflammation and everything.
All the processed foods.
So it's really helped in a lot of ways that way. But so I feel like some of the main things that I feel have changed. My relationship with myself is definitely much better, but how it's impacted my relationship with my body. Mm-hmm. And my body is letting go and releasing. How it's impacted my relationship with you and other key people in my life. I feel like our relationship is so much better.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So much better.
Oh yeah.
And then just mentally and emotionally, I feel like I'm focusing on the right things now. And I'm seeing more possibilities and opportunities versus freaking out and stressing out over the stupidest bull crap.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Like, and I'm sure there's going to be more as I continue down this thing. Like, I mean, I've got some pretty ambitious goals now, but it's only because I'm building that relationship and that trust with myself.
Right.
That I feel like they're actually achievable now. Right?
Yay.
I'm more likely to set goals that we're actually working towards and actually doing things instead of just like, oh, these are some great things, and then just not even worrying about it. But we've been consistent the last few weeks with our own personal meetings with each other to talk about our successes of the previous week, set goals, for the week, and talk about, some of the stuff we want to do in the future, like, put in new flooring on the main floor and stuff like that. Well, I feel like we're being much more supportive of each other and like being each other's cheerleaders so much more than we were in the past.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing I forgot to say. one thing I'm trying to do every single day is write down a list of at least 10 things I'm grateful for. And
You're doing that every day?
Almost.
Oh, wow.
I do it more days than I don't.
Cool.
And on the days that I miss, I will sometimes make it a list of 25 the next day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I have a notebook and I handwrite them out. And sometimes I repeat things, sometimes I don't. But like, it's super helpful to keep me in that attitude of gratitude. Because it keeps me focused on things to be grateful for. Right?
Right.
So that's one of those like personal things. But I don't know. I'm just super grateful that I have the brain space, the opportunity to do this podcast, because it's something that's so important to me. And I'm realizing like,
once you do it, it's a lot of fun and you like it.
well, it's a lot of fun, but I'm just talking about like this whole relationship thing. Like the things I've learned and everything. And I think our society really needs to focus on creating more solid relationships and healthy relationships.
Right.
With the world rather than focusing on reasons to be divided or to villainize, and you know what I mean? It's
because you don't see eye to eye, or because you disagree on a certain topic or subject,
it's
or
just
political aligning, or
there needs to be more positivity in the world, and I want to focus on the positivity of relationships and how we can do that.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about the guests that we're going to have, the topics we're going to cover. Like I have so many ideas on, like I want to have Kendra on as a guest and we can talk about so many different things. I mean, she's an RN, plus she's done NLP.
Plus successful business, plus like
like a ton of
health.
She's just
guru.
She's freaking amazing. I'm like, she's a rock star, and there's things.
Excited to have her on.
Well, and what
if I get to be on, it'd be fun.
Of course, yes. But the other thing is, I'm excited about is I'm hoping that we can kind of create a community of people who want to have solid, healthy relationships with the world around them.
Right.
And I want to do retreats because I think it would be cool to be able to do a retreat where we come together and meet and we talk about this sort of stuff, like, and reconnect with nature and work on our relationship with the world, like with the planet and with other people. Like,
Gotcha.
I mean, there's so many things that I want to do. Like, my brain is
wealth of ideas.
But I want to start a community, and so that's why I'm putting this out there. And hopefully, you know, if people find value in this or want to share their perspective on relationships or want to be a guest, I would love to have them. I think it would be exciting and fun.
For sure.
So
are we wrapping up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna put the camera on you and you can close us out.
No, wait. Oh, okay. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you found this interesting. Hopefully you're excited about what's to come, because we've got some really cool stuff coming. And yeah, it'll be fun to explore different relationships, and come back, join in, and let's have fun.